Off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. We hear he is the Wizard of Wiz, if ever a Wiz there was. If ever a Wiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does.
Well, good morning, good afternoon. Our presentation this morning is called The Spirituality of Oz, a classical spiritual journey. When we look at the story of Oz, so many people have asked, why is it so important in our American history, I think in human history? Why has this story lasted over 100 years, certainly immortalized in the film by MGM? But I believe it's because it touches on the deeper spiritual realities of life. When we look at the classical spiritual journey, there are 5 phases in that journey. The first phase, stage 1, is called the state of discontent, holy longing, as some spiritual writers have called it, the desire to look for something more, that life has become dull, dry, boring as a Kansas prairie. No offense to my Kansas friends. But we look for something new, something more exciting. We realize that there's got to be something else somewhere over the rainbow. It happens many times, certainly for men, we call it midlife crisis. When you're in a relationship or a job and you feel trapped, things aren't going the way that we had planned or we thought they would. We look for something new and exciting. And then the second part is the call to go forth, to look for something new. It's an invitation, maybe from a friend, a coworker. Did you ever think of this? Why don't you try that? In a relationship, it's being introduced to someone new. And what happens is we have that call, and sometimes it's something spectacular. Certainly we see it in religious traditions, from burning bushes and the appearance of angels or voices from heaven. But many times it happens subtly. It's something inside that calls us forward, that calls us to something new and exciting. And then we move into phase 3. Phase 3 of this call is we move in, when we respond to the call, we move into a period of testing. So phase 3 is called the testing period. It's when we have to face our demons, when we have to go into the haunted forest where there are lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. And as we face our demons, if we face our demons and do it well, with companions, with great figures, important guides and mentors in our journey, we can come to phase 4, which is the new awareness. We come to see things and appreciate things in a whole different way. And it's only then we can move to phase 5, which is the return home. And so we see this played out in many great spiritual journeys, many great spiritual stories and hero stories. Certainly we see it in The Wizard of Oz.
Find yourself a place where you won't get into any trouble.
And so, excuse me, we come to Kansas. Kansas, again, represents the ordinary, the day-to-day routine. We encounter Uncle Henry and Auntie Em, wisdom figures that guide and advise. And what is the wisdom of Kansas in the movie? We hear Uncle Henry and Auntie Em giving advice to Dorothy. Stop imagining things. Don't get yourself into a fret over nothing. Find a place where you won't get into any trouble. Somewhere over the rainbow, where Judy sings that beautiful song. And so how often in life do we get ourselves into a fret over nothing? Do we worry about things that we have no control over? You know, it's in the great 12-step program, it's the serenity prayer. You know, realizing and having the courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. You know, can we see that? Or do we continue to fret over nothing, over things we have no control over? Usually we go from 0 to 60 in a minute. One of our Franciscan friars calls it catastrophizing. We always look at the worst. We make a mountain out of a molehill. Let us take the wisdom of Kansas, of Uncle Henry and Auntie Em, and stop imagining things. Stop getting ourselves into a fret over nothing.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
And so Dorothy represents, I believe, in the spiritual realm, the child within us. We all have this child within that loves to play and sing and dance and skip, loves animals, believes in magic, always looking for new adventure. We have that always within us. As we get older, very often we stifle that child within. We're looking for newness of life. We're looking for adventure. But we get older and we say, oh, yeah, I'm too old for that. We lose the magic. And we certainly know in Oz, or even beginning in Kansas, Dorothy has Toto, her little troublemaker. You figure that most of the trouble Dorothy gets into is because of Toto. When he goes into Mrs. Gulch's garden and chases her cat. Remember, the other reason why she doesn't go up with the wizard at the end of the movie is because Toto jumps out of the balloon chasing a cat. Toto's doing what comes natural. Dogs chase cats. Cats chase birds and mice. And so this is part of who they are naturally. I think we all have those little troublemakers in our lives. Those who are companions, but the ones that can always get us into trouble. Remember, as my shirt, Dorothy's dress was blue and white gingham. And gingham, the colors for a bomb are very important. Gingham represents the balance of blue and white, symbolizing blue for our human life, represents the earth, water, and the sky. And white, the spiritual dimension, that which calls us out of ourselves. And represented by Glinda and the wizard, those things that are good. And so we see this certainly played out in the play. The next thing that happens is the twister. And the twister, I believe, represents in the spiritual life things that take things away. It's loss. It's all about loss. A storm, a cyclone. Throughout our life, we grow spiritually only by giving things up. It's about separation, the loss of ideals and values, of affirmation. When we grow up, our families are in place to give us affirmation, to help us to grow. But very often they don't. We lose innocence. Our dreams are shattered for whatever reason. The loss of confidence, certainly of time, as we all know. Time gets away from us, especially during these times. Where has time gone? You look at children as they grow. Certainly it's our health, the loss of health. As we grow older and you jump out of bed and the body stays in it, things start to fall out, fall down, fall off. We start losing family and friends. And ultimately, we lose our very selves. We have to let go. But the critical thing in the spiritual life is, how do we manage the grief and the loss? This is what is critical. It's moving from suffering and death through to new life. And people of the Spirit believe that life continues. Life is changed in death. No matter what takes it away, no matter what storms that come, we can survive and become stronger for the journey. Now, Munchkinland in the movie, I believe it represents our spiritual group, our childhood group. So it's our family of origins, our parents, brothers, sisters. It's our teachers, our babysitters, playmates. They all mold our lives for better or for worse. This is who Dorothy encounters first in her journey. They will support her. They will guide her to what she needs. These places in our life, our childhood group, they lay the groundwork. They lay the groundwork for our lives. They set our rules. They teach us the tools and give us the direction of life. They show us true freedom and creativity. or they cannot. Again, many of us come from dysfunctional families that haven't given us the rules, that haven't given us the strength, that haven't given us the guidance and direction for our lives. But in Munchkinland, Dorothy is pointed in the right direction. Just follow the yellow brick road. Next in our journey,
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
we encounter along the journey, again, those things that pull us in different directions. Her first encounter with good is Glinda, the good witch of the north. But we know that even if we examine things that seem good very often, if we examine them deeply, they can be things that can pull us in either direction. Remember, Glinda is the one who, in one sense, guides Dorothy, protects her, saves her from different encounters, certainly with evil, with the Wicked Witch. But Glinda also is the one who, if we examine it, creates the difficulty for Dorothy. She's the one that removes the shoes from the Wicked Witch of the West, or Wicked Witch of the East, and puts them on Dorothy's feet. Stay tight within them. It's because of Glinda that the story plays out as it does. But if we look at who Glinda represents, I believe she's the spirit of guidance, the goodness inherent in things, the spirit that speaks the truth. Oh, be gone, you have no power here, before someone drops a house on you. It's the spirit that challenges our actions and thoughts, and always asks when we do something, are you a good witch or a bad witch? It calls us to be the better person that we are meant to be.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
And so we also, in our spiritual journey, we encounter evil. It's the old human dilemma, the difference, and how do we manage good and evil. You know, the freedom to choose evil is part of our human condition. We believe we are given free will and choice. And evil, we may say outright, we don't choose evil, but evil has many names. Evil can be seen as pride, our own ego, selfishness, power, control, fear, addictions, xenophobia, the fear of people who are different from us, homophobia, the fear of people of different races, racism, ageism, sexism. We know that these are evils in our culture, in our world. The Wicked Witch, she uses power to gain pleasure and to avoid pain. Relationships for her are all formed to be useful. People only have value in that they are useful to her. Love is always conditioned. I'm only going to love you if. Denials of the dark side. She denies her dark side by blaming others. And in this category, evil wants to repeat itself. It wants history to repeat itself. The Wicked Witch is strict and rigid, legalistic. In the Christian Judeo dynamics, we would say she's Pharisaic. She's like a Pharisee. It's always about the rules and the laws. We don't care who gets in the way and who gets hurt. She cries out of loneliness and laughs out of insecurity. We must encounter, and we will do that battle within ourselves.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
The ruby slippers are an important part of the spiritual journey. I believe they represent gifts that are given to us, the gift of faith, the gift of grace, the gift of our personal power. You see, the ruby slippers have three qualities. They are a gift from God. They are given to us generously. They have complete dominance over the laws of this world. They are not bound by the laws of our human and natural world. And gives you faith in your power. The ruby slippers is the power we have within us that often we give over to others. You know, very often we give over our power. We allow people to control us, to take power from us. Ruby slippers for me are like the pilot light on a stove. It's always there. But what do you got to do? You got to turn on the stove. It's something that opens up our eyes, that gives us our power, that we have this power that is not controlled by anything or anyone else, but it's something within us. It's our power to be who we are called to be. You know, have we allowed that magic and power to go out of our lives? How do we use our power? Do we use it for good, and the good witch energy? Or do we use it for evil, to curse and destroy? We know the yellow brick road is our journey. It's the path we take in life. But it's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. How often people are always looking for what comes next. When I graduate grammar school and go to high school, and I graduate high school and go on to college or go out to work, then I look forward to retirement. And then what? If we don't enjoy the journey, if we don't enjoy every minute of the day. Today I posted on my Facebook a phrase, a saying. It said, life is like a river. If I touch this water, I will never touch it again because the current is moving. That water will never pass again in the same place. Enjoy every single minute of the day. It's coming back to our center. And what happens if I get lost? Just follow the yellow brick road. It's the place we return to when we're off course. What is that place for us? Where is that place for us? That we center ourselves. We come to that place, but we must go there every day. In life's journey, we find friends along the way. They are critical for the journey of life. And we all know that relationships are not easy. Sometimes friendships, they change as we move on, as we grow in life. Sometimes they freeze, or sometimes friends die. Relationships die. I remember having a course in marriage, and the professor said, you know, until death do us part. And I raised my hand, I asked, death of what? Sometimes relationships die if we don't nurture them and take care of them. And we know relationships and friendships are on different levels. When we look at a bullseye, we look at that center as maybe one or two others that are the people we can trust with anything. We know we're not going to be judged. We're going to be loved unconditionally. Those are rare gifts. And then we have other friends in our circles. We have acquaintances and co-workers and people we've known through school and different organizations. So we have all these different levels. But those levels, that intermediate or that intimate circle is so critical on our way of life. And we know Dorothy.
What would you do with the brain if you had one? What would you do with the brain if you had one?
Dorothy first meets the scarecrow. The scarecrow represents our intellect, the part of us that can figure and configure things. It's the part that sees a blank canvas and can imagine this beautiful painting, a piece of art. It's the part that navigates our journey through life, the part that makes us a player and not just a pawn in life. The Wicked Witch just wanted the scarecrow stuck up on his pole. When he was stuck there, he could do nothing. He could affect nothing. But you realize that as the scarecrow who says he needs brains is the one who makes all the decisions. He makes the choices and points people in the right direction on their journey.
Afraid I'm a little rusty yet.
The Tin Man. The Tin Man represents the heart, you know, and its branches. The branches of the heart are joy and happiness, contentment, serenity, peace. And in its absence, it's fear. And the branches of fear are hatred, apathy, we give up, we don't care, anger, jealousy, selfishness, greed. All these things are when the heart is absent, when love is absent. And the scarecrow was looking for love. He was looking for a heart, that symbol. You know, and love is to the soul what oxygen is to the body. Without love, our spirit, our soul just withers, it rusts and dies. And it's the Tin Man who is the one throughout that shows the emotion, shows the compassion, the empathy, which is so critical for a healthy spiritual life. Any person who is a narcissist or selfish and into their own greed doesn't have that heart of compassion. They can't see the pain and the plight of others. They're only concerned for themselves. But the Scarecrow represents, or the Tin Man represents that heart that is big and open and wide and accepts people for who they are and accompanies them on their journey with love.
What makes a king out of a slave? Courage.
And what is our friend the lion looking for? He's looking for courage. You know, the word courage comes from two Latin words, cor and agere. Cor means the heart, and agere means to do or to act. So the word courage means to do or act from the heart. You know, and it takes tremendous courage to walk the spiritual life, to live a life of honor and integrity, of compassion and of peace. You know, the lion has to face his fears. There are two types of fears in life. The rational fear that tells us that something is wrong, and the irrational fear that you're afraid of a spider, or for me, the fear of flying. I go all over the world, but I have this fear of flying. You know, and how do we overcome those fears? The wizard tells Dorothy and her companions they have to go back and face their fears. They have to go back to that haunted forest, to the Wicked Witch, and face the fears before they can continue on their journey. And so she goes back to the haunted forest. And so the haunted forest is the darkness in our hearts, our souls, our minds. They can possess our lives and our world. And so in the haunted forest, we see the jitterbugs, you know, who are taken out of the movie. We have one reference when the Wicked Witch says, I've sent a little bug on to take the fight out of them, take the bite out of them. And in the pieces of the movie that we still have, they were bit by the jitterbugs, Dorothy and her companions. And they made them dance until they collapsed, and it was taken out because they didn't want to date the film with a dance from the 20s and 30s. The jitterbugs, I think, represent our day-to-day worries and concerns. They don't carry us off with one big swoop, but they bite away at us, little by little, those things that drive us crazy. The next are the flying monkeys. I think the flying monkeys represent those things that can carry us away, our addictions. When things, behaviors, substances, food, drinking, alcohol, pornography, gambling, shopping, all these things can carry us away from what's important in life. Our winky guards, again, they can represent us being in a trance during life. Some of us, we don't think for ourselves. We allow those addictions we talked about to kind of control our lives. They put us in a trance, and we can't see the forest for the trees. We are stuck in a certain mindset. We've always done it this way. Or I'm a staunch whatever it is, whatever political party or way of thinking. We get stuck, we're in a trance. We can't see the reality of what's going on because we just mindlessly go through our lives chanting, O-E-O.
Apples.
The talking trees. The haunted trees, I believe, represent for us our desires. You know, there's a difference between desire and wants. We have a lot of wants, a lot of things we want, we think we need. But in order to be happy on the spiritual journey, to be happy in life, we don't need a whole lot. We live in a culture that thinks the one who dies with the most toys wins. As the great Billy Graham says, there ain't no U-Haul following the hearse. We're not taking anything with us. And so can we learn to live simply? What do we truly need versus what do I want? And so we see these things in our journey. And finally, we come to the land of Oz, to the Emerald City. The Emerald City, I believe, is a symbol of us leaving our home and building a new home. Through our spiritual lives, we have to build a new home. We need a new family that we create. We don't have a choice on our family of origins. We have to create a new family. And the first way we do this, we've got to acknowledge the sins of our childhood family. Our parents weren't perfect. Our family life wasn't perfect. We may paint it with a rosy picture. We have to learn how to forgive. If I can't forgive my family, my parents, and realize that perhaps they did the best they could with the circumstances they had. Because if we don't forgive them, we will repeat what we went through. Why do people who grew up in an alcoholic family marry alcoholics or abusers? We will continue to date our parents if we don't let go, if we don't forgive. Remember, forgiveness means letting go of the past. I can't change the past. All I have is today and now, and I have to make choices for that. And so we can choose some of our own families. It's a group of friends, a support system that we make. It could be co-workers. We can join an organization, like an Oz Club. It can be communities, our neighborhoods. And they can include our family members, families of origins. It can be a church group or some kind of support system that helps us on our spiritual journeys and takes us ultimately to our goal, our destination.
The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
The Wizard of Oz. For me, the Wizard of Oz represents the ultimate of the religious experience. And religion, as we know, in human life, has given us some of the most beautiful art, architecture, music, and it also has caused some of the most horrific things in human life. The Inquisition, the Holocaust, 9/11. We see religious traditions that have destroyed others, those they considered other. But a true religion is meant to seek to fill the emptiness in our heart, in our soul. It's to bring meaning to life. It attempts to bring reason and order out of the chaos we see around us. It brings structure to society. It defines what is right and wrong, creates community, and gives support along the journey. And like that is if religion serves its people. If the wizard is a wizard who will serve, then I'm sure to get a heart, a home, the brains, the nerve. And so these things are important. Do we have a faith in people, in life, that gives us hope? Now, how do we put that faith into practice? The wizard is an ultimate paradox, because Dorothy really didn't need him at all. And yet he was important to give her courage. He was the one that was drawing her life, drawing her through the haunted forest to the true meaning of life. And then finally, in the spiritual life.
But anyway, Toto, we're home. Home. And this is my room. And you're all here. And I'm not going to leave here ever, ever again. Because I love you all. And, oh, Annie M., there's no place like home.
And so we come to the end of our journey. And it asks us, we are asked in the movie, and Dorothy is asked, what have you learned? We can go back home when we've reflected on our lives. And we have to ask, what is the greatest lesson we've learned so far? What things do we still want to do or learn in life? What great parts of this great planet do we still want to visit and see? And if we had the power of our ruby slippers to do anything we could with our lives, what would it be? What would be our true heart's desire? And can we realize, as Dorothy did, everything we need, everything that's important to us is right here? And if I don't realize that, I can't go searching for my heart's desire. because I've really never lost it to begin with. Because Toto, there's no place like home. Have a great day.